We need it for national protection. We need Greenland for national protection. They have a very small population.
We have had to listen to a lot. Threats, pressure, and condescending remarks, even from our closest allies for a generation, about wanting to take over another country and another people as if it was something you could buy and own. That has no place anywhere. No matter what happens, we will stand firm on what is right and what is wrong.
While the president kept up his annual tradition of ringing in the new year with a bizarre social media post, Prime Minister of Denmark issued a defiant rebuke to President Donald Trump in her annual New Year's speech, insisting that it will, quote, stand firm against his plans to take over Greenland.
And I don't know, they say Denmark, but Denmark has spent no money. They have no military protection. They say that Denmark was there 300 years ago or something with a boat. Well, we were there with boats too, I'm sure. So you
see, Trump rung in the new year the same way he spent most of 2025, that is, lying. Posting a photo of himself in the middle of the night titled, quote, over 50% of voters approve of President Trump. In fact, the president's approval rating is at a dismal -12 as of this month.
Okay, you know what, Donald Trump, I'm going to borrow a quote from my favorite Rocky film, Rocky IV. He's not a machine. He's not a machine. He's a man. He's a man. And what are we talking about here? Strongly approve of Donald Trump. Okay, this is 2024 Trump voters. In March, it was 66%. Look at where we are now. It's just 50% of 2024 Trump voters strongly approve of him. Look, Trump voters still like Donald Trump, but they don't love him as much. And that means there's a permission structure to actually go against him. And that is exactly what you saw in Indiana. As I said, he's not a machine. He's not a machine. He's a man. You can go against him as exactly they did in Indiana.
In political. But of course, Trump assured his supporters those numbers aren't real, stating, quote, the polls are rigged even more than the writers. The real number is 64%. And why not? Our country is, quote, hotter than ever before. Before going on to say, isn't it nice to have a strong border, no inflation, a powerful military, and great economy? Happy New Year. But here in the real world, Trump's antics throughout the year have forced EU leaders to address the United States in their New Year's message, none more so than the Danish Prime Minister, who said that she was rapidly beefing up the Scandinavian kingdom's military force and strengthening security in the Arctic. Prime Minister said, quote, never before have we increased our military strength so significantly, so quickly. Before going on to state, in the past year, we have had to pay attention to a lot, threats, pressure, derogatory language from our closest ally for a lifetime. In his New Year's address, the king echoed her remarks, highlighting new military training programs and praised Greenlanders', quote, strength and pride in a turbulent time.
I would like to take this opportunity to send a message directly to the United States of America. The US is a big country and Denmark is a small one. We have looked up to you and you have inspired us. Because since the Second World War, you have defended the free world, created prosperity and progress, peace and freedom. And we have tried to give back to you by always supporting you and by showing up every time you called. In us, you have a friend that has always kept our word, a friend you have always been able to rely on. There is nothing I want more than for our friendship to continue. Because if we let ourselves be divided as allies, then we do our foes a favor. And I will do everything that I can to prevent that from happening. Therefore, when you ask our businesses to invest in the US, they do. When you ask us to spend more on defense, we do. And when you ask of us to strengthen security in the Arctic, we are on the same page. But when you demand to take over a part of the kingdoms of Denmark territory, when we are met by pressure and by threats from our closest ally, what are we to believe in about the country that we have admired for so many years? The country that, if any, have stood up for others' freedom. You know us, you know what we stand for, and you know that we don't give in. And that is why I have to say very clearly, national borders, sovereignty of states, and our integrity. These are all principles rooted in international law.
This all comes after Trump renewed his campaign to annex the autonomous Danish territory by appointing a new special envoy with the declared intention of, quote, making Greenland part of the U.S.
Comes through Mexico.
Thank you, sir. You've named Governor Landry to be new special envoy to Greenland.
Yeah.
What do you see that role entailing? And is it still your intention that Greenland become part of the U.S.?
He viewed Louisiana, the Louisiana Purchase. He said, I'm governor of Louisiana. And he said, I didn't call him, he called me. He's very proactive. He's a great guy. He's a deal guy. He's a deal maker type guy. And we need it for national protection. We need Greenland for national protection. They have a very small population.
Trump has continued his demands for Greenland to become part of the United States, at times even suggesting that he may mount a military invasion to make it happen, despite the fact that the American people are overwhelmingly opposed to this very notion. Even Republicans have been pushing back, saying what part of this is America first. And he proved he's even more out of touch than ever by naming Louisiana's Republican Governor Jeff Landry as the U.S. Special Envoy to the territory. If you look, this is becoming part of a trend, right? In early December, Denmark's intelligence service branded the U.S. a potential threat to its national security for the first time in history, citing its willingness to use economic and military power to, quote, enforce its will, even against allies.
Now, Rasmus Jarlov is a conservative member of Denmark's parliament and chair of its defense committee. Thanks so much for joining.
Hello, Jim. Thank you.
So first, I'd like your reaction to seeing Denmark, a NATO treaty ally, looking across the Atlantic at the U.S. and seeing a potential threat. Tell me how the two countries got here.
We've had great relations with the United States for centuries, and we have appreciated the relations we had since the Americans helped liberate Europe and our country in the Second World War. And we've been very loyal allies to each other for the past 80 years. We've participated in all the major U.S.-led wars in Korea, in the Gulf, and many other places in Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on. So it's not great that now we're receiving threats regarding Greenland, which is the main concern from a Danish point of view.
There are many in this country who disagree with the U.S. president on its approach to Denmark, including both Democratic and Republican lawmakers. Do you believe there is anything standing in the way of President Trump continuing to antagonize Denmark? So, I mean, my question is this just about President Trump, or do you believe the entire country, in effect, has turned against Denmark?
No, we don't believe the entire United States of America has turned against Denmark or against Europe. We know very well that there's a lot of different opinions in the American public. And we've also seen polls citing that there's not a majority of the population that agrees with the idea of starting a war with Denmark to take over Greenland that doesn't want to be part of the United States. So I would hope that reason would stand in the way of this happening. And
while neither Danish leaders mentioned Trump specifically by name, they warned that geopolitics is becoming more dangerous amid the ripple effects of the war in Ukraine and Russia, another area that Trump continues to fall short on, despite claiming countless times that he would end the war in a matter of 24 hours.
Could end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours.
Yes, I
How would you do that?
I know Zelensky very well. I'll end that war between those two countries in 24 hours. It won't even take that long. I will get the war ended. I'll stop all of those lives from being wasted and lost. And there'll be no more bombing of Ukraine. There'll be no more bombing of Russia. And everybody will be happy. It can be negotiated, I think, within 24 hours. It really has to be done from the office of the president. And you have to get them both in a room. And there are things you can say to each one of them, which I won't reveal now, which will guarantee that this war will end immediately.
And that to get it solved, I can do it in 24 hours. I know both players, and I can do that in 24 hours. but you can only do it from the office of the president. You need that seat. You need what's tailed in that seat. And I would have that done in 24 hours. It wouldn't even be tough. I know what to say to each of them, and there's no way they would reject it.
I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours. I would have a deal done in 24 hours from the time we started. And I would tell Zelensky something, and I would tell Putin something, and I'd get him into a room, and I'd tell him again and again. I would have a deal done very quickly. And we'll continue the negotiation. Pretty complex, but not that complex.
Any meetings to your deadline?
I don't have deadlines. You know what my deadline is? Getting the war in. We don't have deadlines. You agree with that?
But all of this, it just further cements the fact that under Donald Trump's leadership, the United States is no longer revered by our closest ally, but viewed as a threat to the point that they are bolstering their military just in case.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.